For the last 2 decades, if you were in digital marketing, you knew the rules. But right now, as we speak, those rules are being completely torn up and rewritten. We're in the middle of a massive shift in how we all find information online.
So let me ask you a question, and I want you to really think about this. What if all the time, all the money, all the strategy you have poured into getting that coveted #1 spot on Google suddenly meant nothing at all? This isn't some far-off future scenario. It is happening right now. The way people search is changing under our feet. Instead of clicking through links, people are getting instant, complete answers directly from AI. That whole traditional search journey, it's becoming a thing of the past and fast. And that brings us to the first huge point we need to understand. What we're seeing isn't just another little marketing trend. It's a radical overhaul of the entire digital playbook. Think about it. The era of scrolling through that classic list of 10 blue links, well, it's pretty much over. Now, tools like Google's AI overviews or ChatGPT or Perplexity, that's where people go first. These tools do all the heavy lifting, they synthesize all the information, and they spit out one single neat answer. And here's the kicker. If your brand isn't part of that answer, you are totally invisible. So, the big question is, how on earth do you compete in this new world? Well, the answer is an entirely new discipline that's built specifically for this AI-first reality. We're talking about Generative Engine Optimization, or GEO. And here's what GEO is all about. The goal is no longer about getting someone to click on your link. The new goal is to become the trusted, authoritative source that the AI itself relies on to build its answers. You want the AI to think of your brand's expertise as the absolute foundation of its knowledge on a topic. And this table just lays out the massive shift perfectly. With old school SEO, you were targeting the Google results page, and the whole point was to get clicks. With GEO, you're targeting the AI model itself, and your goal is to be cited as an authority. Your tactics change from just keyword stuffing to creating truly conversational content. And your metrics, they go from rankings and traffic to citations and share of voice. It is a fundamentally different ballgame. I love this quote because it just nails the mindset shift. SEO is like trying to get the best listing in the yellow pages. GEO, on the other hand, is about winning an argument. It's about having true intellectual influence in the conversation the AI is having with your customer. Okay, so that's the what. But how do you actually do it? Let's dive into the nuts and bolts, the actionable playbook for actually winning at GEO. All right, the absolute most important thing you need to get your head around is this. AIs don't rank websites. That's the old way. They rank information. They are constantly scanning for the most factual, the most clear, and the most authoritative content they can find to build their answers. Your job is to be that source of trusted information. So how does an AI figure out what to trust? Well, it uses a framework Google's been honing for years, called EEAT. That stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. Your content has to hit all four. It needs to show you've got real, first-hand experience, that you have deep expertise, that other reputable people are referencing you, and most importantly, that what you're saying is factually correct and transparent. This all leads to a really clear 4-step playbook. First, you've got to create conversational content that actually answers the questions your audience is asking. Second, you need to build deep topical authority. Don't just be an expert on a keyword. Be the go-to source for an entire subject. Third, use structured data, which is like putting clear labels on your content so the AI can understand it perfectly. And fourth, you have to reinforce all this with high-quality backlinks from other sites the AI already trusts. And please do not sleep on that last point about backlinks. A recent survey found that almost 3/4 of SEO professionals are convinced that backlinks are still a huge signal of trust for these new AI engines. Getting a link from another trusted source is like getting a vote of confidence, and the AI really pays attention to that. So obviously, if the goals are different and the tactics are different, then how we measure success has to be different too. For any executive watching this, the big question is always, how do we measure the ROI? So let's talk about that. The way we track success has to completely pivot. We're moving away from those old vanity metrics, like keyword rankings and organic traffic. The new dashboard is all about measuring your influence. We're now tracking things like citation frequency. How often is our brand actually cited as the source? We're talking brand mentions and our overall share of voice, which is basically asking how much of the AI-driven conversation in our space do we actually own? Now, here's probably one of the most powerful new metrics you can track. It's called the mention citation gap. This is what happens when an AI answer mentions your brand by name, but then cites your competitor as the source for the information. That gap? That's pure gold. It's a flashing neon sign telling your content team exactly what piece of content they need to create next to close that gap and become the authority.
So let's bring this all together. Getting on board with GEO isn't just about chasing the next shiny object. This is a fundamental strategic move to make sure your brand stays relevant for the next decade. And it is so important to understand that GEO doesn't just replace SEO. They actually work together in this amazing flywheel effect. See, having strong traditional SEO rankings often gets you on the AI's radar to begin with. Then, when you start getting cited in AI answers, that boosts your overall authority, which in turn can actually help your traditional rankings. Success in one just feeds success in the other.
So what does a realistic timeline look like? Well, the cool thing is the feedback loop can be a lot faster than you might think. Usually, within the first 30 to 90 days, you should start seeing some initial citations and mentions that prove your strategy is working. But the real prize is the long game. At 6 months and beyond, that's when you should start to see sustained growth in your share of voice and a real measurable impact on the business.
And so we end right back where we started. In this new world of search, every single brand is facing a really stark choice. When your customer asks their most important question, and an AI gives them that one single definitive answer, will your brand be the source of that answer, or will you be completely forgotten? The time to make that decision is right now.